Welcome back to Reddit Family Secrets. Kindly support my channel, subscribe, like, and comment. Your support means the world to me. Today's story is one that genuinely shook me to my core when I read it. It comes from a woman in suburban Nashville, Tennessee, a mother of three, a wife, a daughter, and until recently, a devoted sister. Let's get into it. My name is Callie. I'm 34. My husband Marcus is 36. And together we have three kids: Eli, who just turned 14, our daughter Rosie, who is 4, and our youngest, baby Nate, who just turned 2. We live in a nice neighborhood outside of Nashville. We are not perfect parents. Nobody is. But we love our kids fiercely. We show up every single day, and our home is full. My brother Derek is 30. He and his girlfriend Sasha, 28, have been together for about 4 years. For as long as I can remember, Derek has been one of my closest people. Every Thanksgiving, he drives up from Chattanooga and stays through the weekend. He helps Marcus assemble whatever ridiculous toy we bought for the kids. He does voices during story time. He is, or at least he was, the kind of uncle who makes a kid's whole face light up when he walks through the door. This past Thanksgiving, everything fell apart. Here's what happened that night. Eli, my 14-year-old, has been going through it lately. Classic teenager stuff. The eye rolls, the heavy sighs, the dramatic door slamming, the convenient selective memory when it comes to chores. His teachers have even flagged it. We are working on it. Marcus and I have a discipline style that sits somewhere between firm and compassionate. When Eli melts down, Marcus gives him 10 minutes to cool off upstairs, then goes up and has a real conversation with him. Man to man. It works. Slowly, but it works. On Thanksgiving evening, Eli made a comment to Rosie that Santa wasn't real. My 4-year-old burst into tears. Marcus and I both immediately redirected Eli. Nothing aggressive, no yelling, just firm and clear. Eli argued back, stumped upstairs, slammed the door. 10 minutes later, Marcus went up. Another 20 minutes, Eli came back down, apologized to Rosie sincerely. And the rest of the night was beautiful. Derek and Sasha were there for all of it. They didn't say a word. We had pie. We watched football. Derek helped put the kids to bed. When he left Sunday, he hugged me tight and said, "You guys have something really special here." I believed him. 3 weeks later, a CPS investigator named Ms. Pruitt showed up at Eli's school. She pulled him out of class and asked him how things were at home, whether he felt safe, whether his parents ever hurt him or scared him. My son, this same kid who argues about taking out the trash, sat across from a stranger in a beige government office and said, "I love my parents. My dad is my best friend. Sometimes I get my phone taken away or I get grounded, but I know it's because they want me to be a good person." He came home and immediately told Marcus that a woman had come to talk to him at school. He was confused, not afraid. He had nothing to hide because there was nothing to hide. I found out about the CPS visit the same week I was sitting in my neurologist's office in a paper gown. I have an autoimmune condition that affects my nervous system. I had been stable for years, genuinely years, until October, when I had a flare that left me barely able to get out of bed for 3 weeks. I was in the middle of a round of diagnostic testing when my phone buzzed with a voicemail from Ms. Pruitt. She was coming to our house the next morning for a home visit. I handed my phone to Marcus in the waiting room with shaking hands. He called her back immediately. When Ms. Pruitt arrived the next day, she walked us through the accusations that had been made. 1. Marcus was described as an aggressive alcoholic with violent tendencies. 2. We were allegedly starving our children. There was reportedly no food in the house. I want you to sit with that for a second. On the night of the accusation, Thanksgiving, Marcus had 2 glasses of wine over 6 hours. My dad had a beer. My brother Derek drank most of a 12-pack by himself and fell asleep on our couch before 9. And yet somehow, my husband was the one flagged as a raging alcoholic. As for the food, Ms. Pruitt toured our home. She opened our pantry, our fridge, our deep freezer in the garage. She actually laughed. Not unkindly, just in clear disbelief. She said, "This family is not going hungry." Before she left, she looked at me and said something I've thought about every day since. She said, "I'm relieved to be in a home like this. I don't usually get this. 3 days later, she called to tell us the case was being closed. Our risk assessment score was low. No further action was needed. We were cleared. But I wasn't relieved. I was unraveling. Because I already knew who had made the call. I hadn't told anyone my suspicions. But when my parents and my cousin Trish each independently reached out to Derek, just casual check-ins, not interrogations, his responses didn't add up. He talked around it in a way that felt practiced. He used the word justified unprompted. He asked, almost too quickly, whether the case was going well for us. Sasha, his girlfriend, works as a social worker in Hamilton County. That detail had been floating in the back of my mind since the moment Ms. Pruitt arrived. And then there was this, the specific accusations. The food thing. Derek is obsessively into clean eating, organic everything, nothing processed, no canned goods, no refined anything. He and Sasha had made comments over the years about our pantry. Eli once asked Uncle Derek if he wanted some Doritos, and Derek said, "That's not real food, bud." When I made a big pot of pasta at Christmas last year, Sasha whispered to Derek that she couldn't believe how much processed sauce we kept on hand. To someone with that worldview, a pantry full of pasta, canned beans, jarred tomato sauce, and boxed cereal might genuinely look like neglect. I think he saw our Thanksgiving and filtered it entirely through his own lens, his own fears, his own quiet resentments, his own grief, and made a decision that he had no right to make. What I didn't know then, and only found out later through my mom, was a fuller picture of what Derek had been carrying. Derek and Sasha had been told in September that having biological children would be extremely difficult. Sasha had been diagnosed with a condition that made natural conception unlikely. They hadn't told anyone in the family yet. They were processing it privately. Meanwhile, Marcus and I had just announced that we were expecting Nate, our third. My mom was posting about it constantly. There were balloons and a gender reveal and a whole party. Derek had sat at that party and smiled and hugged me and said he was happy for us. He was dying inside. I understand that now. I do. But understanding someone's pain does not mean accepting what they do with it. For 5 weeks after the case closed, Derek went quiet. He didn't call. He didn't text. He had been blowing up my phone the day of the home visit, calling me back to back, asking me to let him know how it went, insisting I update him. And then the moment I told him it was fine and the case was closing, he vanished. That told me everything. I was in the middle of my health crisis. I was exhausted and scared and trying to keep our family's life from fracturing under the weight of my medical bills and my restricted activity and Marcus carrying everything alone. The last thing I had energy for was confrontation, but I couldn't leave it. After 5 weeks, I sent Derek a text. Short. I said I had a question for him and I needed him to be honest with me. He called me within 4 minutes. He opened with, "I think you already know why you're asking." I said, "Was it you?" He said, "Yes." And then something shifted in him. The calm evaporated. He started talking louder, then yelling, then ranting in a way that didn't even fully track. Something about how Marcus doesn't deserve me, how I've changed, how he worries about the kids, how nobody else in the family is willing to say the hard things. He said Marcus had anger problems. He said I was too sick to be paying attention to what was happening in my own home. He said we didn't deserve to be parents. I asked him once if I could speak. He kept going. I asked again. He kept going. The only words I managed to get in were, "You know we're going to need a long break from you after this." He said, "I figured. And I don't care." I told him calmly that if he wasn't going to let me talk, I was hanging up. He didn't stop. So I hung up. And I blocked his number. And I called my dad. My dad didn't say much at first. I could hear him breathing on the other end of the line. When I told him Derek had admitted it, that he'd said yes without hesitation, like he was proud, my dad went quiet in a way I'd never heard from him before. Not angry quiet. Shattered quiet. He said, "I'll call him." I don't know what that conversation looked like. I don't know if Derek cried or doubled down or hung up on our father too. I haven't asked. I'm not sure I'm ready to know. What I do know is this. My brother made a calculated decision to weaponize a government system against my family, against my children, against my husband, who has never raised a hand or his voice in any way that would alarm a reasonable person, against me, A woman in the middle of a health crisis, trying desperately to hold her life together, because he was in pain and he needed somewhere to put it. He could have called me. He could have sat on our couch and said, "Callie, I'm struggling. Watching your family feels hard right now, and I don't know what to do with that." I would have listened. I would have loved him through it. Instead, he sent a stranger to pull my 14-year-old out of class. The case is closed. My family is intact. Ms. Pruitt told us we were clearly doing right by our kids, and I'm grateful for that. More grateful than I can say. But I keep thinking about what would have happened with a different caseworker. Someone less thorough. Someone who decided Eli's sadness about losing his uncle was evidence of something darker. Someone who looked at my medical records and decided I was unfit. It almost broke us. And he knew what he was doing when he made that call. I'm not going to heal from this quickly. Maybe not ever. Not fully. There are moments, at bedtime, when Eli is being sweet with Rosie, or when Nate laughs that ridiculous belly laugh, when I think, Derek is missing this. And then I remember that he chose to miss it. He chose something ugly over something beautiful, and I can't undo that choice for him. For now, I have no contact with my brother. My parents are finding their own way through this. My cousin Trish has quietly closed her door to him as well. Sasha has not reached out. Marcus holds me when I cry about it. He doesn't say much. He just stays. That's what a good partner does. And that is what my brother could never see, no matter how hard he was looking. What strikes me most about this story is the cruelty hiding inside what Derek probably told himself was concern. He didn't call because he was afraid for those kids. You don't fabricate starvation claims if your motive is genuine worry. He called because he was grieving a life he couldn't have, and the closest target was the sister who had everything he wanted. That's a specific kind of pain, and I do feel for it. But Callie is right. Pain is not permission. You don't get to torch someone's family just because watching them hurts. And the moment Derek said yes with that kind of indifference, almost bored, almost proud, he showed her exactly who he had become. I hope she heals. I hope those kids never know the full weight of what happened. And I hope Derek, wherever he is, eventually faces himself honestly. Because that's the only way any of this gets better. Thank you for being here. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're carrying something heavy in your own family right now, you're not alone. See you next time.